Chapter 1: The Cycle of Collapse. Imagine living in a world where every time people build a great society with tall buildings, laws, art, and technology, it eventually crumbles and resets back to nothing. It might sound like a story from a book or a scary movie, but what if this is the way our world really works? Let's think about a city where everything seems perfect. Streets are clean, the people are happy, and technology is advanced. Everyone has what they need, and many people are very smart and successful. It feels like this place can never fall apart. People might believe they have learned from history and figured out how to avoid mistakes from the past. But what if, no matter what, these societies are destined to reach a point where they cannot continue as they are? Often, such a downfall doesn't happen all at once. It's like when a ship starts to sink. At first, there might just be a few small leaks. The crew might not notice them, or they think they can patch them up easily. However, little by little, more water gets in. Problems start to pile up. Things that seemed minor become major, and before anyone realizes it, the whole ship is in trouble. The city that once seemed perfect now faces unexpected challenges. There could be too many people, not enough resources, pollution, corruption, or other internal issues that build up over time. Once this chain of events begins, it could be too late to stop it. Many will try their best because nobody wants to see their world suffer or end. Leaders, thinkers, and ordinary people might all come together, trying to find a way out of the mess. But sometimes, even with everyone's best efforts, things won't get better. Attempts to fix things might be like trying to hold onto sand that slips through your fingers. Wars could break out, debts might skyrocket, environments might become harsh, or diseases could spread. The very things that once made a place strong might become the reasons for its downfall. You might wonder, if this cycle happens over and over, won't people learn from the past mistakes? It's a good question, but keep in mind that every new society thinks they're different, unique, and maybe even special. There's a belief that they've grown beyond the errors of those before them. This confidence, or perhaps arrogance, can blind them to the reality that collapses happen not just due to simple mistakes, but due to complex webs of decisions and events, intertwined over many years. Even the best intentions can lead to unexpected results. The moment a society finally realizes they cannot stop what's happening, the focus shifts. It changes from saving what's falling apart to preserving some part of the civilization's legacy, knowledge, and culture. This is crucial because when the reset happens, those left behind will have a foundation to rebuild upon. And after this collapse, there is a period of pause, like a deep breath before the beginning of something new. Amidst the ruins, nature starts to reclaim the land. Trees and vines may grow where buildings once stood. Animals might wander freely. What's left of human life bands together, finding new ways to survive. It's a simpler life at first, with focus on immediate needs like food, shelter, and safety. But slowly and surely, the cycle of building starts again. People are incredible at starting fresh. Even when they face difficulty, there's hope and determination. This drive is what leads us back to growth. We discover new ways to farm, build, and live. Knowledge of past achievements and failures get passed down, and as life improves, focus shifts again towards progress. New cities rise, innovation happens, and confidence returns. Often forgetting the lessons learned. This cycle might sound repetitive, but each time there are small changes. Technology advances further, cultures blend more, and perhaps wisdom grows even if it doesn't seem to prevent the inevitable collapse. People might notice similar patterns from the past, but believe this time is different. History may rhyme but doesn't repeat perfectly. Each collapse and rebirth add another layer to the human story, filled with lessons and hidden wisdom. Through this never-ending series of rises and falls, humanity persists. Perhaps none of these cycles is truly an end. Maybe they are just parts of a larger, cosmic process that's much more complex than anyone can understand. Life continues, ever resilient, always hoping for a brighter future, constantly learning and relearning. Who knows? Perhaps the ultimate goal is not just to prevent another cycle from starting again, but to understand and embrace that falling and rising has its place in the grand scheme, revealing a deeper understanding of what it means to be truly alive. Chapter 2. Echoes of Extinction. Imagine a world that is old and full of stories, a world where civilizations rise and fall like the tides. In this world, people come together, learn, grow, and, sadly, find ways to tear each other apart. It's like watching a plant sprout, bloom, and wilt, only to start again from a seed. Every time it starts over, it's like trying to remember a dream after waking up. It feels familiar but different, like you've been here before but can't quite put your finger on it. In a small village by the sea, the air is filled with sounds of life. The waves crash, birds sing, and the chatter of people fills the air with a melody as old as time. The village seems peaceful, but the people carry the weight of stories passed down from their grandparents. These tales speak of great cities, long forgotten, and of skies filled with smoke, fires that marked an end but brought a beginning too. The elders in the village are the keepers of these stories. They gather the children by the firesides during cool evenings, their eyes reflecting the dance of the flames. The children listen wide-eyed as the elders weave tales of mighty rulers and cities that sparkled under the night sky, only to vanish into the dust of time. They talk about how knowledge was lost, how people forgot what once was, and how they had to relearn the most basic things. It's like a song with too many verses, and they always seem to miss the beginning or end. But the tune is oddly familiar. The elders speak with a hint of sadness and hope, too, as they remind the young ones that, just as those before them have done, they too will leave their mark. They remind them to be kind to each other, to take care of the land and seas, for they are all that remain when everything else fades away. This is what they've learned from the stories, a cycle that they are part of and must understand. As time goes on, the village grows. People from different places come and bring with them their own tales, each one similar yet unique. They build new homes, create new tools, and share new ideas. The world around them feels big yet strangely small, and they learn to read the skies, listen to the winds, and understand the language of the earth. The village is a small part of the larger world, but it feels like the center of everything for those who live there. Life continues like this for many years. Children grow and become the new storytellers. New tales are added, old ones altered and forgotten. But with every generation, one thing remains the same: the knowledge that everything is just a small part of a much bigger story. They don't know fully where they came from or where they are going, but they know they are part of something that has gone on for longer than memory. Sometimes, someone in the village imagines what it must have been like to walk through those lost cities, to touch the stones carved by hands long gone. They wonder what those people thought, what dreams they dreamed, and what led to their end. Were they like us, they ask. Did they love and hope and fear just the same? The answers are hidden in whispers carried by the wind, as unreachable as the stars in the sky. The seasons change, and so do the people. There are times of plenty and times of want, but the villagers hold on to what they know. They adapt, build, and plan for the days when their own echo might join those of the past. They train their minds and hands, for they understand that, though the world's memory might fade, they will be the ones to shape the stories that follow. They will be the echoes others hear when they, too, start again. And so this cycle continues, like a song that never truly ends. It's a story told in endless parts, where each part is a beginning and an end. Every leaf that falls makes room for another to grow, and every whispered memory adds depth to those still to come. In the heart of each village, around every fire, there remains a hope that one day, the echoes of their stories will speak of a time when they dared to dream of a world where the cycle would change, where the endings weren't sad, but the beginnings even brighter. But until then, they hold their stories close, letting them be the light in the dark, the guide for a future just beyond the horizon. Chapter 3: Rise from Ruins. Imagine a world where every great civilization had fallen down and then sprung back up, time and again, almost like a dance that never ends. Each rise and fall tells its own story, carrying lessons whispered across centuries. Let's dive into a tale that begins not in grandeur, but in the rubble and quiet places left behind after everything goes wrong. Long ago, there was a mighty city, rich with tall towers touching the skies, echoing laughter, and buzzing with life. People there had everything they thought they needed. They built grand statues of their heroes and marveled at ideas that twinkled like stars in the night. They imagined a future so bright nothing could dim it. But, as history likes to remind us, all bright lights can flicker and fade. One day, without warning, things changed. Maybe it began with the whispers in the wind or the distant rumbles only a few could hear. It might have been a subtle reminder that everything, no matter how grand, is still a part of nature, finite and ever-changing. Suddenly, fires broke out, or maybe it was floods. Nature cares little for specifics when it decides to reclaim its territory. What once stood tall now crumbled into dust. Streets, once crowded, emptied. The brave and the wise were left to ponder how things went wrong. For a long while, silence and dust ruled. Nature stole back what had been hers, wrapping vines around fallen stones and filling empty streets with songbirds' calls. But humans are nothing if not resourceful. Life has a way of springing back up, even from the direst of ruins. A few people remained, wandering through broken homes and empty markets. They were not the powerful or the rich, but the quiet sort who listened to the world. They found each other, first in ones and twos, then in larger groups. Though scattered, they shared a common dream, one sparked by the silent reminders of lost stories. Not rebuilding what was, but creating something new. Together, with rough hands and hopeful hearts, they began the work. They cleared stone blocks, warm from the sun, clearing paths not just for feet to walk, but for futures to flourish. At first, it seemed like they moved blindly, gathering without true purpose. But slowly, patterns emerged. They rediscovered under the moss and rubble whispers of old roads and streams that fed life. Some told stories by the campfires at night. They swapped tales of ancient heroes, inventing new myths as they sparked laughter and unity. Soon, one story about a clever fox or a brave fish grew into a tapestry of lessons and wonders. Grandparents became the teachers, and children wide-eyed listeners, with every star in the sky encouraging tales of old wisdom and new beginnings. Gardens were planted, not because they must, but because where seeds disappear, life bursts forth. Dogs played beneath the new shade of sprouting trees, while children chased butterflies that danced freely in the growing fields. Songs sprang from lips, new melodies born of resilience and hope. They sang of everyday joys and simple wishes, turning labor into celebration. The echoes of their music replaced the echoes of empty corridors as people made homes from timbers and dreams. They uncovered signs of the life that was a temple spire here, a toppled column there. These old stones, once monuments to power, long past, became part of their new homes. Earth embraced them, roots knitting close, binding together old tales with new life. Slowly, over time, what began as ruins once more became a village, a home. People who found each other in times of nothing now found joy in everything. A dusty bowl uncovered in ashes, a cup carved from stone, a tool left behind by ancestors, each holding a treasure of time's whispers. They did not seek to return to the past, or even to outshine it. Instead, they built something shaped by the lessons written by dust and sky, stitched together by laughter and sweat. There were mistakes, of course, missteps and arguments, but each wrong step was a chance to learn and grow, not to halt progress. Nature, once more, saw this place anew, not as a battleground or a treasure trove to steal back, but as a partner. Birds nested, trees grew, and rivers sang. People tended to pollinators and split harvests with the forest creatures that once ran from their jaunt. In time, the cycle of life itself left visible marks, not in ruins and destruction, but in hope and renewal. And in this gentle back-and-forth dance of humanity's rise from the dust, the story continued. What was once lost was remembered, and what was new took its place among the tales of old. Whispers in the winds told of those who came before, and those yet born sang today's journey as if it were their own promise. New visitors might have passed through, seeing not the scars of what once stood but the birthmarks of what could be. For here, in the heart of rebirth, lay the greatest secret echoed through time. No end is ever truly an end. Each new beginning is a chance for another rhythm, another song, another dawn, painted with the colors of an unwavering spirit. And so, they lived, each generation a new thread in a tapestry of comings and goings, rises and renewals, never accepting that a fall was anything more than the first part of a new beginning, echoing across all time. Chapter 4. The Great Reset. Imagine a world where human beings have reached an incredible point. Technology is everywhere, helping us do things we once only dreamed about. Cities are vast, buzzing with energy and life, and every person is connected by invisible threads of communication. Cars drive themselves, food grows in towers stretching into the sky, and anything you could want is just a click away. It's a world that feels like it should last forever. But what if it doesn't? What if this, like countless times before, all comes to an end? This story begins one sunny morning, much like any other. The world stretches awake with the help of singing birds and the gentle rays of the sun warming the streets below. For friends, Jaya, Amir, Lena, and Tamaz decide to meet up for breakfast at their favorite spot, a small cafe with the smell of fresh baked bread always welcoming them inside. As they sit, they talk about everything that's been on their minds lately. The focus seems to be on small things, work troubles, a new movie, and how Amir's houseplant refuses to grow. But underneath it all, something more significant stirs. Jaya mentions how she noticed that people don't look each other in the eye anymore. Even in crowded places, it feels like everyone is alone. Lena nods, saying she's observed the same thing. She's been studying history and told them that in past civilizations, just as they seemed to reach their peak, something always changed, something that led to their fall. Her words hang heavily in the air, mixing with the smell of their coffee. Tomas, ever the optimist, laughs and says maybe this time will be different. Maybe their generation will figure out the secret to lasting happiness and harmony as they dig into their breakfast. A sudden power flicker dims the cafe lights and then returns to normal. It's a small thing, barely noticed, and they continue their chat. But across the world, similar flickers are happening. At first, just quick little dips in electricity and technology, easily chalked up to glitches or small malfunctions. But over the coming days, these blips become more frequent and more widespread. Phones refuse to work, calls drop, and navigation systems lead cars in circles. Power stations struggle to keep up, and the internet becomes mostly unusable. Panic begins to ripple outwards. Cities find themselves grinding to a halt as their intertwined systems begin to unravel. It's during this period that people start turning back to the simpler things: books, conversations, and their own 2 feet. Neighbors who had barely exchanged more than polite nods now knock on doors, sharing stories, food, and reassurance. Communities begin to grow stronger even as everything else seems to falter. Jaya and her friends decide to meet again, opting for a walk in the park where they find comfort in nature which seems blissfully indifferent to human troubles. Squirrels dart through the trees, and children laugh as they chase each other, their games uncomplicated by the chaos gripping the world. Amir muses how life used to be like this, not dependent on things they didn't fully understand. Tomas agrees, surprised by how much he's enjoyed stepping away from constant notifications and screens. Lena, the history buff, shares a theory she read about how maybe this isn't an accident but a cycle, a chance for humanity to hit reset and start anew, that the friends consider what a fresh slate might mean. It's daunting, losing everything they believed they needed. Yet, beneath that fear is a glimmer of excitement, a hidden belief that they might be able to build something better, something less dependent on fragile systems and more on each other. A week passes. The blips have now led to almost total blackouts. With each passing day, the world adjusts, slowly moving from confused denial to reluctant acceptance. People relearn old skills or invent new ones to keep going. Music fills the streets as the sound of instruments replaces playlists. Gardens spring up on balconies and rooftops. Bartering small goods becomes common practice as cash lessens in value dot in these new challenges. A sense of community blossoms. People like Jaya, Amir, Lena, and Tomas find themselves at the center, lending their hands and hearts to the cause of living, rather than simply surviving. They sow seeds in shared gardens, lead morning yoga sessions in the parks, and host evening gatherings where stories are shared, binding them closer together. No one is quite sure how long the darkness will last, or if it might become the new permanent backdrop for their lives. Some think about what comes next, and if they can ever rebuild the world they used to know. But amidst those worries, they find moments of peace, a rhythm that feels ancient yet new. The absence of buzzing technology opens up space for reflection, creativity, and discovery. What if this ending is not a tragedy, but an opportunity? A chance to reimagine life and learn from past mistakes. The friends wonder if, in this new chapter, they can keep the best parts of what was lost while nurturing the seeds of a new beginning. It's uncertain if these changes will persist or if they are merely a pause before the world resumes its course. But in this moment, they understand something powerful. Every end has the chance to be a beginning, a continuation of life through different lenses, and perhaps, as each day dawns fresh and uncharted, that's reason enough to embrace the great unknown and see where the path leads. For now, in this world reshaped by unexpected events, people hold close the knowledge that as long as they have each other, there lies their true strength. Together, they are ready to face whatever comes next, grounded by lessons from the past and hope for the future. In this, they find their resetter journey that begins and ends with simple human connection amidst the grand complexities of life. Chapter 5: Patterns in Ashes. It's funny how things always seem to end in a similar way, even when they start out looking so different. Imagine having a big puzzle. You know, the kind where all the pieces get all mixed up at the beginning. You try and try to put them together, but somehow, at some point, you find yourself staring at pretty much the same picture every time. That's what happens when you look at how different civilizations have risen and fallen. It's like they all leave behind the same shapes in the ash once the fire has burned out. You might wonder why this happens, but maybe it's just how the world works. Imagine a place bustling with people. Everyone's busy doing their own thing. Kids are playing, shop owners are selling their goods, and builders are raising structures that touch the sky. There's laughter, there's noise, and there's life. Over time, these places grow. They start out small, maybe just a few huts or little markets. And before you know it, they're full of buildings and roads and people moving about. Everyone's curious, always finding new ways to do things, inventing tools, telling stories, and exploring new places. There's a certain energy and excitement that fills the air. It's as if nothing could ever possibly go wrong. People get really good at organizing things. They create laws to keep things in order. They build schools to teach kids and gather places where stories and ideas can be shared. There are people who lead and make important decisions. It feels like everything is set up perfectly, like this time, everything will be different and will last forever. But even as everything seems to be going so well, there's a small voice, almost a whisper, reminding everyone that nothing stays the same forever. They seldom pay much attention to it, believing their progress will be strong enough to stand the test of time. There's always excitement about new discoveries, whether it's finding new lands, new resources, or new ways to solve old problems. Civilizations have a thirst for knowledge. People grow crops better, learn how to heal the sick, build better tools, and understand the stars in the night sky. It feels magical and wonderful, like they've unlocked the secrets of the universe. However, with every step forward, there's also a challenge that follows. Sometimes resources that seemed endless begin to run low, or the land gets tired and doesn't give as much as it used to. There can be arguments among people about how best to use what they have or who should be in charge of decisions. The world that felt so orderly can suddenly feel chaotic, like things are slipping through fingers no matter how tightly they try to grasp. Weather can change too, even if it's just a little. Rivers that once flowed steadily might dry up. Rains that came when needed might stop or come too much all at once and wash things away. There are times when the earth itself seems to get angry, shaking under their feet or bringing fire from the mountains. It's all part of how this big world moves, shifts, and changes. But each time, people try to find ways to adapt. Storytellers are always important. They keep the tales of what was once before, passing memories down from one generation to the next. They remind everyone of the past, the times before the buildings touched the sky, before the streets were filled with bustling crowds. They speak of the dangers of forgetting hard lessons learned, of the cost of overreaching and taking too much from the world without giving back. Stories can be powerful, but often they are just echoes fading into the background noise of progress and ambition. As the fabric of society starts to fray, people might choose sides. This can lead to conflict. Sometimes it's over land, or resources, or ideas on how things should be run. Friendships and partnerships are tested. It's hard when neighbors who once shared meals stop speaking. As disagreements become louder, it can feel like everyone's forgotten what made them strong in the first place. Their togetherness in facing challenges, their shared dreams, and their journey towards a future they all envisioned. When things are on the brink of change, there's a tension, almost like everyone is holding their breath, waiting to see what happens next. It's like when a storm is coming and the sky gets really dark, and you know the rain will come, but you're not quite sure when or how hard. People try their best to hold on to the stories, the knowledge, and the hope they can rebuild and start again. Sometimes, it's hard to imagine what comes next when faced with such a blank canvas after everything's come to a close. But that's the wonder of it. Like seeing spring buds after a long, harsh winter, ideas and dreams start to grow once more. New faces, new hands to build anew, and new stories begin to shape life again. The cycle continues. Like watching waves on a beach, every wave might be a bit different, curling and breaking in its unique way, but always rushing to shore, retreating back, and then returning. The beauty in all this is the simple truth that even as things fall apart, there's always the possibility, the promise of starting fresh. Perhaps each new start carries the echoes of what came before, like whispers in the wind, offering guidance for those willing to listen closely enough. In the end, it's a reminder of how wonderfully persistent life can be, how it continues to surprise and inspire, urging us to try again despite the odds. It's that unending cycle of endings and new beginnings that make life breathtakingly beautiful. Chapter 6. Foundations forgotten. Long after the sun had dipped below the horizon, and the warmth of day had settled into a gentle night chill, the small group of people sat around a crackling fire, the dance of the flames reflected in their eyes, flickering like the spirits of all the ancestors they could no longer remember. Their world was humble, with simple tools made from stone and wood, and songs passed down through generations that no longer knew their origins. In the soft glow surrounding them, the whispers of the past began echoing through the minds of each person gathered there. "Do you ever wonder?" one of the elders began, her voice as grainy as the stones underfoot. "How we came to be here? Why we make the same mistakes?" This was a mystery pondered often in the stillness of such nights, for in their world there was an unshakable feeling, a shared memory of something lost and found time and again. The stories told around the fire all spoke of eras long gone. Some tales were of dazzling machines that flew like birds and reached for the stars. Other stories were about cities that touched the sky, where knowledge filled every corner, yet they crumbled to dust. Each tale had the same end. The land swallowed them whole until only folk like them, rebuilding from the earth, remained. "Why do we forget?" asked a younger voice, just breaking past the uncertain leap from child to adult. Her eyes sparkled with the need for answers. If they were so wise back then, why do we not remember anything? Aren't there signs, clues, anything? She looked to the elder, seeking a foundation to anchor her uncharted thoughts. The elder nodded slowly, feeling the weight of years in every bone. Maybe, she whispered, it's because each new beginning needs its clean slate. Who's to say we would do any better if we knew all their old truths? Maybe the forgetting is a gift, a chance to make things anew, not just the same again. But what if somewhere, another suggested, looking out beyond the firelight, as if peering into history itself, in some hidden part of this world, the old things still wait for us to find them again. What if it's all buried, just out of reach? The air grew thicker with the thought, heavy with the mingling of hope and despair. It was a secret belief among them that the land held memories whispered into the wind, locked within stones and buried treasures of wisdom, but only ever accessible to those with just the right touch of curiosity and understanding. The night wore on, shadows lengthening until the weight of their concerns seemed too much to bear. They had heard the stories of other groups of people, distant and strange, who might also sit by fires, sharing similar tales of once great peoples and forgotten marvels. It seemed everyone had their version, and yet none knew why it kept repeating, an endless cycle without end, or maybe, always, a new beginning. What if the cycles aren't meant to be broken? It was a voice barely above a whisper, soft as the night breeze that tickled the edges of their camp. What if they're meant to teach us, to humble us until we learn? The fire popped, sending a shower of sparks into the velvet sky. Each ember seemed like a star, tracing an arc before fading into the darkness, much like the stories they told, bright for a moment before slipping into memory. They gazed at the stars, silent, each tracing their thoughts along the vast, cosmic web connecting past and future. Yet another voice, old and crackling like the kindling itself, eventually spoke. Perhaps it is less about endings and more about beginnings. We are always at the start, forever discovering not only who we were, but who we are meant to grow into. The steady rhythm of the night accompanied their musings, a gentle reminder that time, like the flowing river nearby, never truly stops. It only bends and curves, picking up pieces of what was, depositing it into what will be. As the fire dwindled to embers and the cool night air began to whisper its lullaby, they huddled closer, finding warmth not just from the fire, but from the shared intimacy of their conversation. It was a comfort to know that, while they might not remember the old foundations upon which civilizations were built, they had the strength and courage to lay their own, whatever form they might take, here at the hearth, together, under the endless stretch of stars and history. They were both the end and the beginning, the forgotten past and the yet-to-be-written future. So, in their little circle, surrounded by the endless mysteries of a world that seemed ever poised to start anew, they drifted into a peaceful sleep. Dreams filled with the echoes of old worlds and the promise held by the dawning light of yet another day. They might not know where it would lead them, but the knowledge that each day was a step in a never-ending story was enough. For now, Chapter 7, A New Dawn. The sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and gold. Birds began to sing their morning songs, as if welcoming the new day with their cheerful tunes. The air felt fresh and cool, brushing gently against the skin like a soft whisper. In a small valley surrounded by lush green hills, a group of people stirred from their sleep. They were the first of many to wake up to this day, a day that signified a fresh start for them all. These people were different from those who had come before. They wore simple clothes made from natural fibers. Their hair flowed in the breeze, unbound by anything. Faces were warm and friendly, with eyes curious and filled with wonder. They did not know the things that had been, for the past was wiped away like chalk from a board. What they did know was shared in stories whispered at night, told by the elders who remembered everyone but memories gone. The village lay between two rivers, sparkling under the morning light. Houses were small and round, built from earth and stone, blending seamlessly with their surroundings. Smoke wafted lazily from chimneys, hints of breakfast cooking. The smell of fresh bread wafted through the air, mingling with the scent of the earth. For as long as they could remember, the village had existed in harmony with the land. They worked together to gather food, hunt, and plant seeds to grow what they needed. Trusting each other came naturally, for they knew that survival depended on it. The bonds they formed were strong and true, tied together by their shared history and purpose. Today, as the sun rose higher, children laughed and played. They ran through soft fields, hair bouncing and feet pounding on the ground. Their joy was pure and simple. Each step they took left a mark, a small reminder that they were here, living in this very moment, knowing only what they knew now, not bound by anything before. In a clearing near the village, the elders gathered. They sat in a circle, speaking in hushed yet vibrant tones filled with excitement. They talked about the histories they had passed down, the stories of what once was. None could accurately recall what exactly had gone before, but each felt a deep sense of connection to that time long ago. It was as if they carried hidden knowledge deep within, waiting to be unlocked once more. As the day grew warmer, the villagers busied themselves with their tasks. Fishermen cast their nets into the rivers, hoping for a good catch. Farmers tended their crops with care, watching over each tender shoot. In perfect simplicity, the village came alive, humming with the kind of industry that is born out of necessity, not out of greed. The sun climbed higher still, dabbling the land in bright light. Friends gathered for a meal, sitting in a circle with food spread out before them. They laughed, talked, and shared stories, each voice weaving into the next, forming the colorful fabric of their community. In the place where once had been whispers of fear and uncertainty, now there sat comfort and peace. As their meal ended, they lounged in the shade of an old tree, its leaves whispering secrets to the wind. Eyes cast upward, they watched the clouds drift lazily across the cerulean sky. These were moments that marked the dawn not just of a new day, but of a new beginning. Over time, they would learn more, explore further, and rebuild lost knowledge, little piece by little piece. They would tell tales of their discoveries and ponder the mysteries yet to be unraveled. A fresh chapter had begun, with each villager eager to write their part in it. The sun journeyed across the sky, blazing brightly, before lowering itself toward the horizon. Its light bathed the village in rosy hues, mirroring the first light of dawn. Shadows stretched long across the land, merging into one as night fell. Soon, the stars began to sprinkle the deepening sky, one by one, until it glittered with 1,000 tiny lights. The villagers sat around a fire, its warmth drawing them closer together. They spoke of the sun's journey, of its rise and set, and the cycles that bound them all. Their voices, soft and soothing, lulled the youngest among them to sleep. Though their eyes grew heavy, the flame continued to dance in the night, reflecting a truth as constant as the turning of the earth. In a world where every ending gives birth to a beginning, they understood this, that their time here was precious and fleeting, but also rich with promise. The fire's glow dimmed, and one by one they climbed into their beds, minds at rest with thoughts of what was and what might come to be. As silence wrapped around the village, the night watched over them, holding close the dreams of tomorrow. All was quiet, save for the gentle murmur of the river, a lullaby of nature's eternal promise of renewal. In this place they belonged. Here was home, and together they would face whatever lay ahead. This was their story, a new page turned, in a world where everything is possible. Each dawn a gift, each day a chance to begin again. Chapter 8. Time's Tapestry. Once upon a time, imagine this time, there was a place, or many places. These places were different and similar all at once. In each of these places, people lived. They laughed, they lummed, they learned, and sometimes they forgot. This is the story about those times when things changed so much that everything had to begin again, done in the beginning. Perhaps there was a spark. Perhaps this spark was made of big thoughts or small doubts. Maybe it was the result of a single person thinking differently, or a group of people wondering about the same new thing at the same new moment. Whatever it was, the spark went from one person to the next, carried by whispers, questions, and new ideas. It set everything in motion, like a child's game of dominoes, where one piece topples and sets the rest into a clicking, clattering dance. Once things start changing, they move faster than anyone expects. People adapt and invent, and soon their world feels modern and new. There are shiny inventions, faster ways to travel, and easier ways to talk with someone on the other side of the world. People start to feel like they can do anything. They build taller and stronger, reaching up into the sky, convinced that their story is only just beginning. But, just like in all good stories, there comes a time when things go off track. Change that once seemed like a friend turns into something else. There might be more problems than answers. People feel the strain of too much, too fast. Resources sometimes run thin. Sometimes the land itself rebels, a storm or a shake that reminds them how small they really are. Despite their best efforts, by the time they notice, it's often too late to stop it. It's like trying to catch a river in your hands. They try to fix it, they do, but sometimes humans only make things more complicated. People are stubborn, and sometimes they're too proud to see that they've taken a wrong turn. Then it happens. There's a calm before the storm, that knowing moment when everyone senses a change. In the quiet, people look to the horizon, searching for what comes next. Sometimes there's a countdown you can almost hear, like the soft ticking of a clock you never knew was there. And then, whoosh, their world as they know it changes. Sometimes it's sudden, sometimes it's slow, but eventually everything they've built fades away. And yet, this isn't the end. It's more of a pause, a rest, before the next verse of a song. The places grow silent, and for a time, it seems like the end, but it never truly is. Nature has a way of healing itself, and life finds a way to begin again. Over time, the land recovers. The earth, like a gentle giant, shakes off the remnants of what was, and everything starts anew. One day, perhaps a child, a curious and wide-eyed child, wandering through what once was, finds a piece of the past, an old book with yellow pages, a favorite rock, a half-buried toy. These are clues, little footprints of the people who came before. They pick it up, this child, and in their small hands, the past is remembered. Ideas, just like before, start small. They catch like fire among those who are ready to listen. This child shares the stories, wonders aloud about those who lived before. People begin to reflect, dream, and build again. They plant seeds, form communities, and spin new tales. Out of the ashes, a new civilization begins, nourished by dreams that feel both old and new in equal measure. There's a new spark, and the cycle begins once more. From nothing, everything comes into being. This time, they might remember more from before. They might change more carefully, courageously, while holding tight to what was learned. Or maybe they won't. Maybe a strange sort of forgetting falls over them again. But nature and time are patient teachers, waiting for the right moment to offer their lessons again. Why is it that things always end and begin anew? It's a question without a clear answer, much like why children are always curious, or why hearts beat a little faster when they glimpse something extraordinary. Perhaps it is meant to remind us of something bigger, something timeless, like a mysterious story that unfolds in chapters. Sometimes we win, and sometimes we lose. But each time, with each child who picks up a shard of the past, there's hope for something beautiful and new. And so, the people return to their tasks. They work, they wonder, and all around them, life goes on. The story isn't over, it's simply begun again, woven into the great tapestry of time. Everyone and everything is part of this pattern, each stitch connected to 1,000 others throughout all moments that ever were, or ever will be. Chapter 9. Lessons relearned. You wake up and feel like today is just the same as yesterday. The sun rises, casting a warm light on everything around you, and you rub your eyes, trying to shake off the sleep. The world outside your window seems the same, but there's a feeling, deep inside, that something is different. It's like when you can't quite remember a dream, yet you're sure it had been important. Everyone in the village goes about their day, and yet there's this nagging thought that keeps coming back. What if everything is not as it seems? What if, in some way, we're living in a cycle? Growing up, everyone heard stories passed down from elders. Tales of how great cities used to stand tall, where now only ruins remain. These stories always ended the same way, with a beginning that seemed startlingly familiar to the life we're leading now. You chat with your neighbor, old Tom. He's a wise man, with eyes that seem like they've seen more than just one lifetime. Old Tom loves to sit on his porch and talk to anyone willing to listen. His stories are both gripping and chilling. He talks about how people used to travel in the sky, in giant boats made of metal, and how they could talk to others miles away without leaving their homes. It sounds impossible, yet his tone makes you wonder if it was true. But what happened to all that, you ask, truly curious? Tom pauses and looks at you with a small smile, as if waiting for you to see what he means on your own. He finally says, maybe they got too big for their boots, forgot how to live simply, lost touch with each other and themselves. These words stick with you. As you walk through the village, you start noticing little things you'd overlooked before, like the way everyone comes together to help when there's work that needs many hands, or how the food at the community dinners seems to taste better because of the laughter shared around it. Life isn't about the big things, you think. It's about these small moments, these connections that make the hard times bearable and the good times even sweeter. One afternoon, the village holds a meeting. They gather under the big oak tree in the center of town. It's about planning for the future, working out how to fix the irrigation ditches that have gotten clogged, ensuring there's enough stored food for winter. As you listen, it occurs to you that even if the world starts over, the real lessons remain with us in our hearts. How to take care of each other, how to listen and learn. These things don't need fancy technology, they just need honest work and love. After the meeting, Emma, the baker, talks about how her grandmother used to make bread and how it was a family tradition to share the first loaf every week. She recalls stories her grandmother told about how people in the past were always in a hurry, buying everything, never slowing down to enjoy the process of making something with their own hands. Emma's bread isn't special because it's perfect every time. It's special because it comes with a story, a memory, a bond. This way, she says, we keep the past alive, learn from it, and carry forward what's truly valuable. Life isn't easy, of course. There are struggles, and you find yourself pondering over why these cycles happen. If the world gets rebuilt over and over, why can't we seem to hold on to the knowledge we've gained? You wonder, the thought lingers, but the answer eludes you. And perhaps that's where the heart of it lies. Every time we start fresh, we have to learn the lessons anew. As you work alongside your fellow villagers, you realize that what matters most aren't the cities or the machines or the things we've lost, but the people and the lessons we relearn. These are the gifts we pass down, ensuring that each new beginning is a little brighter, a little more hopeful than the last dot. In the end, you find yourself grateful that endings are not truly endings, but opportunities to remember what is most precious. Seeing the world through this lens turns each day into something meaningful, and you carry that forward, sharing it with others, letting it be the legacy you leave behind. Chapter 10: Infinite Horizons. Imagine a world where everything feels new, like the smell of fresh rain or the first brush of sunshine in spring. But here's the twist. That's not just a feeling. This world really is starting over. Again, you see, every civilization, no matter how mighty or clever, eventually finds itself staring at the same unchangeable truth. Just when they think they've reached the peak, understanding all there is to know, something happens, something beyond their control, as if the universe hits a reset button and everything familiar gently fades away, leaving room for a fresh start. Picture in your mind a group of people at the very beginning. They explore their new world with eyes wide open, as if they've seen everything for the first time. Stars twinkle above them, telling stories of ages past, while oceans whisper secrets of times unknown. Everything seems like magic. The trees that touch the sky, rivers singing their endless songs, and the mountains that stand like silent guardians. Yet, despite the beauty around them, these people feel a strange pull. It's as though they've been here before, although they cannot remember when or why. As they sit around their fire under the starlit sky, one of them wonders out loud about what lies beyond those twinkling lights. Another suggests that maybe, just maybe, they can touch the sky by climbing the highest mountain. Curiosity fills their hearts because there's so much to see and learn. Excited whispers of what if float through the air, encouraging their minds to dream big, to reach out with both hands and grasp the vastness of possibility. As days turn into weeks and then into years, this small group grows. They build homes, they learn how to farm and make tools to help them with their daily lives. They develop songs and stories to share their knowledge and dreams with the next generation, and through these stories, they begin to form an identity, giving their world a name, shaping their society. Yet there's a strange sensation that hangs in the air, a quiet recognition that's always there, at the edges of their thoughts, reminding them they might not be the first to walk this path. Inevitably, some of them start to look back, piecing together tales and echoes from those who ruled before, whose dreams and ideas lit up the world only to fade away, leaving nothing but hidden remnants and unanswered questions. They find strange artifacts buried beneath roots and stones, tools and tablets that speak a language they do not quite understand, though it feels somehow familiar. These discoveries ignite a new hunger for understanding, a longing to know those who came before and, maybe, just maybe, learn why they fell. With each discovery, a little more of the past shines through the present, as if these stories are hoping, begging, to be remembered. Could it be that their forebears succeeded in touching the sky or delving deep under the sea? Was there a moment when they almost figured out the very secret of all things, only to watch it slip through their fingers like sand? These thoughts inspire great ambition, pushing societies forward, urging them to reach further than their ancestors ever dared or managed. Technology blossoms, knowledge grows like a vast, towering tree. Bridges are built that stretch oceans, cities rise taller and brighter than the stars nestled above. The people wonder if they are now at the peak, masters of all they survey. Yet, following the path laid out before them, they cannot help but ponder if there is still more to uncover, more to invent, more to understand. The excitement of invention dances hand in hand with an ever-present fear that they might, one day, lose it all. But each time a civilization discovers the vastness of the universe or the tiniest particle, they catch glimpses of infinite possibilities. This pushes them onward, like a gentle breeze nudging a sail. They seek answers in the cosmos and in the depths of their own consciousness. Each civilization reaches out, always trying to grasp what lies beyond the horizon. The pursuit feels eternal, as though it has its own magic, something ancient and powerful, nudging each civilization forward along the same path. And so, the horizon is, quite literally, never-ending. It promises something just beyond the reach of fingers, just out of sight, but perpetually calling, "Go ahead and find me." Meanwhile, each generation hands the dream to the next, each time starting over, leaving new stories and tools for those who will one day uncover them. For the night sky will always be dotted with mysteries, and the ebb and flow of life will always surge and recede like the tides. They have come to understand and yet also know so little about Dot, in a world where every civilization seems to end the same way and begin anew. What do they truly seek in their infinite pursuits? Perhaps they are not just looking to answer questions as old as time, but are trying to grasp something more profound. The joy found in the never-ending journey itself, filled with rediscovery and the hope that one day they might finally see beyond that vast, infinite horizon.